Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day to you. That's depending where you are in the world. I'm in London doing the nighttime devotion from the devotional Christ Triumphant. The title today, One Sin Often Forces Another. 2 Samuel 12 verse 5 reads, And David's anger was greatly kindled against the man. And he said to Nathan, As the Lord liveth, the man that have done this thing shall surely die. The Bible has little to say in praise of mortals. Little space is given to recounting the virtues of even the best men and women who have ever lived. This silence is not without purpose. It's not without a lesson. All the good qualities that people possess are the gift of God. Their good deeds are performed by the grace of God through Christ. It was the spirit of self-confidence and self-exaltation that prepared the way for David's fall. According to the customs prevailing among Eastern rulers, crimes not to be tolerated in subjects were uncondemned in the king. The monarch was not under obligation to exercise the same self-restraint as the subject. All this tended to lessen David's sense of the exceeding sinfulness of sin. As soon as Satan can separate the soul from God, the only source of strength, as soon as Satan can separate the soul from God, who is the only source of strength, he will seek to arouse the unholy desires of humanity's carnal nature. When in ease and self-security, he let go his hold upon God, David yielded to Satan and brought upon his soul the stain of guilt. Bathsheba, whose fatal beauty had proved a snare to the king, was the wife of Uriah the Hittite, one of David's bravest and most faithful officers. Every effort that David made to conceal his guilt proved unavailing. He had betrayed himself into the power of Satan. There prepared but one way of escape, and in his desperation he was hurried on to add murder to adultery. Nathan the prophet was bidden to bear a message of reproof to David. It was a message terrible in its severity. To few sovereigns could such a reproof be given, but at the price of certain death to the reprover. Appealing to David as the divinely appointed guardian of his people's rights, the prophet repeated a story of wrong and oppression that demanded redress. Nathan fixed his eyes upon the king. Then lifting his right hand to heaven, he solemnly declared, Thou art the man. Wherefore he continued, Hast thou despised the commandment of the Lord to do evil in his sight? The guilty may attempt, as David had done, to conceal the crime. They may seek to bury the evil deed forever from human sight or knowledge. But all things are naked and opened unto the eyes of him with whom we have to do. The prophet's rebuke touched the heart of David. Conscience was aroused. His guilt appeared in all its enormity. His soul was bowed in penitence before God. With trembling lips he said, I have sinned against the Lord. The title again, one sin often forces another. So this is looking at the sin David committed by taking Bathsheba into his bedroom, basically, knowing it was the wife of Uriah the Hittite, who was one of his best and bravest soldiers. And then feeling guilty about it, he then sends Uriah to his death so he doesn't have to feel guilty about Bathsheba. And then God calls him out. And quite rightly so. So where the title says one sin often forces another, he committed murder on top of adultery to cover up the adultery sin. And he thought it was okay because it didn't affect him. He's the king. He can do what he wants. But this is what it covered at the beginning. Just because you're a king or a monarch or a ruler, it doesn't mean you are exempt from keeping those same commandments everyone else has to. In fact, you should be first in line, keeping the commandments and leading by example. So David was very in ease and out of self-security. He did what he wanted to. And he betrayed God and succumbed to the power of Satan. Until God told Nathan the prophet to call out David and to point your finger and say, David, you are the one that's done this. But it's very clever because Nathan brought up a scenario of one of the subjects in the land. And Nathan said what this man had done. And the scenario was very good. And David was like, oh, that's disgraceful. That's not good. Who is this man you're talking about? And then Nathan said, you are that man. Because the scenario was replacing Bathsheba with a different, I think it was with an animal or something, but you'd have to read it. You'd have to go to 2 Samuel and read it for yourself. But it's that's why with David, God called him a man after his own heart, because even though he sinned a lot, he also repented of all those sins. And that's why God loved him, because yes, he sinned, but then he repented. And he didn't commit those sins again. We have a lot of work to do.